The glass tower Olivia Reyes tucked a strand of her dark hair behind her ear as she stared at the lines of code scrolling across her screen. The Horizon Innovations headquarters, affectionately nicknamed the Glass Tower by employees, buzzed with nervous energy. In 3 hours, they would unveil Atlas, a revolutionary AI integration system that promised to transform how businesses processed data. "Still here, Reyes?" a voice called from behind. Olivia turned to find Tessa Blackwood, Horizon's marketing director, leaning against her cubicle divider. Unlike Olivia's practical jeans and company hoodie, Tessa wore a tailored suit that probably cost more than Olivia's monthly rent. "Just triple-checking the integration protocols," Olivia replied, rubbing her tired eyes. "The investor demo needs to be flawless." "Jackson's on edge," Tessa warned. "He's been in his office all morning with the board members. You know how he gets before launches." Jackson Frost. Just hearing his name sent a flutter through Olivia's chest, equal parts admiration and anxiety. At 37, he had built Horizon from a garage startup to a tech empire valued at billions. His brilliance was matched only by his ruthlessness when it came to perfection. "I've checked everything," Olivia assured her. "The system's solid. 2 years ago, when Olivia joined Horizon as one of their first female senior developers, she'd believed in Jackson's vision of creating technology that would level the playing field. She'd spent countless nights debugging problems others couldn't solve, canceling dates and missing family gatherings. Somewhere along the way, that professional respect had evolved into something more complicated, an admiration she kept carefully hidden. "Conference room A, 15 minutes, Tessa reminded her. "Don't be late." The main conference room was already packed with investors, board members, and tech journalists when Olivia slipped in. She found a spot along the wall, preferring to remain invisible. The room had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking San Francisco Bay, designed to impress, like everything else Jackson created. He entered the room with the confidence of someone who never questioned his place in the world. Tall, with sharp features, and penetrating gray eyes, Jackson commanded attention without effort. His presentation was flawless, articulate descriptions of Atlas's capabilities interspersed with just enough technical details to demonstrate expertise without boring the investors. "And now," Jackson announced, "we'll demonstrate how Atlas integrates with existing systems in real time." Olivia held her breath as the demonstration began. The first 3 minutes went perfectly. Screens displaying the seamless data processing that would revolutionize client operations. Then, without warning, the main display flickered. Numbers froze. Error messages flashed across the screen. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Jackson's expression remained neutral, but Olivia recognized the tightening around his eyes. He tapped on his tablet, attempting to restart the system. "Nothing. Technical difficulties?" he said smoothly. "Give us a moment." Olivia was already moving, slipping behind the presentation area to access the main terminal. The error code made no sense. This wasn't in any of her test scenarios. "What's happening?" Jackson's voice was low, meant only for her. "I don't understand," she whispered, fingers flying across the keyboard. "These protocols were locked yesterday. Someone's changed the integration parameters." The room had gone uncomfortably silent. Board members exchanged glances. An investor checked his watch. "Fix it," Jackson ordered. "I'm trying, but—" "Ms. Reyes," Jackson's voice cut through the room, no longer a whisper. "Perhaps you can explain to our investors why the system you assured me was flawless is now failing during its first public demonstration." All eyes turned to Olivia. Her cheeks burned. There's been an unauthorized change to the—" "Excuses won't salvage this launch," Jackson interrupted, his voice glacier cold. He turned to face the room, transforming private failure into public spectacle. "At Horizon, we value reliability above all. Clearly, some of our team members don't share that commitment." The room seemed to tilt beneath Olivia's feet as she realized what was happening. "You're done here, Ms. Reyes," Jackson announced, eyes never meeting hers. I don't tolerate incompetence, especially not on projects of this magnitude. The silence was absolute. 60 pairs of eyes watched as Olivia stood frozen, her professional reputation shattered in seconds. She managed a slight nod, gathered her tablet, and walked toward the door with as much dignity as she could muster. As the door closed behind her, she heard Jackson seamlessly continue. Fortunately, we have backup protocols for situations like this. In the empty hallway, Olivia leaned against the wall, struggling to breathe. Her personal items could be collected later. What mattered now was escaping before the tears came. As she walked toward the elevator, the massive Horizon logo, a stylized horizon line representing limitless possibility, seemed to mock her from the lobby wall. For Olivia Reyes, the horizon had just disappeared entirely. Shattered code. The first week after her humiliation at Horizon Innovations felt like moving through fog. Olivia barely left her small apartment in the Mission District, ignoring calls from concerned colleagues and friends. The tech blogs had a field day with her public dismissal. Frost gives developer the cold shoulder, and Atlas shrugged, Horizon's launch disaster were among the kinder headlines. On the 8th day, her phone rang with a number she didn't recognize. "Is this Olivia Reyes?" The voice was crisp, professional. "Yes," Olivia replied cautiously. "This is Darius Wong from Integrity Systems Security. I've been trying to reach you." Olivia frowned. Darius. Wong was something of a legend in cybersecurity circles, known for his ethical hacking and system vulnerability assessments. "I saw what happened at the Atlas launch," he continued when she remained silent. "And I think you should know, that failure wasn't random." Those words jolted Olivia from her stupor. "What do you mean?" "Someone deliberately altered the integration parameters 17 minutes before the demonstration. I've been monitoring Horizon security protocols for a client, and I caught the breach. Whoever did it knew exactly how to make it look like a development oversight." Olivia's mind raced. "You're saying I was set up?" "I'm saying the evidence suggests it. Would you meet me to discuss this? I've got the logs." The next day, at a quiet coffee shop in Palo Alto, Darius showed her the data. Tall and lanky with thoughtful eyes behind rectangular glasses, he walked her through the timestamps and access points. The sabotage was elegant in its simplicity. Changes made through an executive access portal that wouldn't trigger standard security alerts. "Only 5 people at Horizon have this level of access," Darius explained, "and only one of them would benefit from your removal." Olivia stared at the name on the screen. Ethan Mercer, Horizon's CTO, who had opposed her promotion last year and whose own AI project had been shelved in favor of Atlas, the project she'd been leading. "What are you going to do with this information?" Darius asked. Olivia considered her options. She could fight to clear her name, possibly even sue Horizon, but the thought of a prolonged battle against Jackson's resources exhausted her. More importantly, it would keep her tied to the past. "Nothing," she finally said, surprising herself with the certainty in her voice. "Horizon isn't my future anymore." Darius raised an eyebrow. "That's unexpected." "Getting fired was the worst thing that's ever happened to me," Olivia admitted. "But maybe it's also an opportunity. I've been building other people's dreams for years. Maybe it's time to build my own." As weeks passed, Olivia reconnected with her original passion for technology. Before joining Horizon, she'd been developing algorithms to help small businesses compete against corporate giants. She dusted off her old research, making improvements based on everything she'd learned since. Her severance package provided a modest runway, and her tiny living room became her new office. Late one night, as she was refining a predictive model for inventory management, her doorbell rang. Standing in her hallway was Priya Sharma, Horizon's former head of user experience who had left 6 months earlier. "I heard what happened," Priya said, her voice warm with concern. "And then I heard you're working on something new. I want in." Priya, with her brilliant design mind and endless empathy for users, had been Olivia's favorite colleague at Horizon. While Jackson focused on technological superiority, Priya had always championed accessibility and ethical application. "It's not much yet," Olivia warned, ushering her in. "Just some algorithms to help small businesses optimize their operations without needing enterprise-level resources." Priya studied the screens, her eyes brightening. "This is exactly what the market needs. Technology that democratizes opportunity instead of concentrating it." With Priya on board, followed soon after by Darius offering to handle security architecture, what had been a personal project began evolving into something more. They named it Equilibrium, technology that created balance in an unequal marketplace. 3 months after her dismissal, Olivia found herself in a small, rented office space with her 2 partners, pitching to their first potential investor. "The difference between us and companies like Horizon," she explained, her voice growing stronger with each word, "is that we're not trying to replace human judgment. We're enhancing it, making powerful analytics accessible to the businesses that need them most." As she spoke, Olivia realized something fundamental had changed. The humiliation that had once threatened to consume her had transformed into clarity of purpose. Jackson Frost had fired her in front of everyone, but in doing so, he'd inadvertently set her free. The investor, a woman who had built her own venture capital firm focusing on ethical tech, leaned forward. "When can you start?" "Silicon Phoenix, is the camera angle right? Can everyone see the screen?" Olivia adjusted her laptop while Darius and Priya huddled behind her in their cramped office. On the video call were the owners of 20 small businesses, from a family-owned grocery chain in Idaho to a handmade furniture collective in North Carolina, all part of Equilibrium's beta program. "We can see fine, Olivia," said Carmen Rodriguez, owner of a Texas-based bakery distribution company. "Now show us this magical inventory prediction system you've been promising." Olivia smiled and launched the demonstration. For the next 30 minutes, she walked them through Equilibrium's platform, showing how their AI could analyze purchasing patterns, predict demand fluctuations, and recommend inventory adjustments that would maximize profits while minimizing waste. "This would have saved us $30,000 in spoilage last quarter," Carmen said, her voice tinged with amazement. "How much is this going to cost us when it goes live?" "That's the best part," Priya chimed in. "Our tiered subscription model scales with your business. You only pay for the capacity you need." After the call ended with commitments from 18 of the 20 businesses, the trio sat in stunned silence before erupting into cheers. Their first real clients, their first real revenue. "I think we need a proper office," Darius said, looking around at their shared space above a Vietnamese restaurant, "and probably more staff." 6 months after founding Equilibrium, they moved into a modest office in Oakland, deliberately across the bay from Horizon's gleaming San Francisco tower. Their team expanded to include developers specializing in different business sectors, each focused on creating modules that would help level the playing field between small operations and corporate giants. Their growth wasn't explosive like typical Silicon Valley startups, but it was steady and sustainable. Olivia insisted on this approach, having seen how pressure for hypergrowth often led to ethical corners being cut. They turned down venture capital offers that would have required aggressive expansion timelines, instead partnering with impact investors who shared their vision of technology as an equalizing force. Horizon announced a small business platform today, Darius mentioned casually one morning, sliding a tablet across the conference table to Olivia. "Looks remarkably similar to our retail module." Olivia scanned the press release, noting the familiar features and approach. "Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery," she said with a wry smile, though her heart quickened at the sight of Jackson Frost quoted in the article. "They're going to undercut our pricing," Priya warned. "They can afford to run at a loss to capture market share?" Olivia nodded, considering their options. "Then we'll need to emphasize what they can't copy, our commitment to our clients' independence. Horizon wants to own the ecosystem. We want businesses to own their futures." This fundamental difference became Equilibrium's rallying cry. While Horizon's small business offering required integration with their other products, creating dependency, Equilibrium's platform remained open and interoperable with any system a business might use. The strategy worked. Word spread through business communities about the startup that genuinely cared about their success. A profile in Fast Company highlighted Equilibrium's approach as the anti-monopolistic future of business tech, featuring a photo of Olivia, Darius, and Priya laughing together in their sunlit office. 18 months after being publicly fired, Olivia found herself addressing a conference of independent business associations in Chicago. As she described Equilibrium's latest innovation, a collaborative purchasing system that allowed small businesses to achieve economies of scale, typically available only to large corporations, she noticed several Horizon executives in the audience. "We believe technology should distribute power, not concentrate it," she concluded, making eye contact with each of them. "And we're just getting started." The standing ovation that followed seemed to underscore her point. Backstage, as Olivia was gathering her notes, her phone buzzed with a notification. An email from the Global Technology Summit Organizing Committee. "Dear Ms. Reyes, we are pleased to invite you to deliver a keynote address at this year's summit, focusing on your groundbreaking work in democratizing AI technologies." Olivia's hands trembled slightly as she read further, stopping at the list of event sponsors. There at the top, designated as the premier sponsor, Horizon Innovations. After nearly 2 years of rebuilding her life and creating something meaningful, the prospect of facing Jackson Frost again sent an unwelcome jolt through her system. The summit was the most prestigious gathering in the industry. Refusing would be a professional mistake. Yet accepting meant potentially confronting the man who had humiliated her in front of an audience much like the one she would be addressing. "Something wrong?" Priya asked, noticing Olivia's expression. Olivia handed her the phone. "It seems the universe has a dramatic streak." Priya read the email, her eyes widening. "Are you going to accept?" Olivia took a deep breath, finding her center. "Yes," she said with quiet determination. "Equilibrium has earned its place at that table. I've earned my place at that table. And if you run into Jackson Frost?" Darius asked, reading over Priya's shoulder. A small smile played at the corners of Olivia's mouth. "Then he'll see exactly what I've built from the ashes of what he destroyed." Collision course. The Global Technology Summit transformed the San Diego Convention Center into a showcase of innovation. Massive screens displayed breakthrough technologies, while the industry's brightest minds gathered to exchange ideas and make deals. For 3 days, Olivia navigated the event with growing confidence. Equilibrium's success providing a shield against old insecurities. Her keynote was scheduled for the final day, the coveted closing slot that traditionally drew the largest audience. As she reviewed her presentation in her hotel room the night before, a knock at her door startled her. "Room service," called a voice. Olivia frowned, not remembering ordering anything. She opened the door to find a server with a bottle of champagne and a small envelope. "I didn't order this," she said. "Compliments of another guest," the server explained, handing her the envelope before departing. Inside was a handwritten note. "Congratulations on your keynote. Your success is well-deserved." JF, 2 simple initials that sent her heart racing. Jackson Frost was acknowledging her success, but why? Was it genuine admiration or strategic positioning? The Jackson, she remembered, didn't offer praise without purpose. Olivia set the unopened champagne aside and returned to her preparation, determined not to let the gesture distract her. The next morning, as she made her way to the speaker's preparation room, she spotted him across the lobby, surrounded by admirers as always, but somehow looking more worn than she remembered. Their eyes met briefly before she deliberately turned away. The summit's main hall filled to capacity for her keynote. 5,000 seats, all taken, with standing room only in the back. As Olivia was mic'd up backstage, the event director leaned in with a last-minute update. "Slight change to the program," she said. "After your speech, we've added a joint Q&A session with you and Jackson Frost. The theme is Divergent Approaches to AI Ethics. His team just confirmed." Olivia's stomach dropped. That wasn't part of the agreement. "It's a tremendous opportunity," the director pressed. "The 2 biggest names in ethical AI, head-to-head. The audience will love it." Before Olivia could protest further, she was being announced. Taking a deep breath, she walked onto the stage, blinking against the bright lights. The applause was thunderous, far beyond what she had expected. As her eyes adjusted, she could make out faces in the front rows. Tech journalists, industry leaders, and in the center aisle seat. Watching her intently, Jackson Frost. Pushing aside her awareness of him, Olivia launched into her presentation. She spoke about Equilibrium's mission, illustrated with stories of the businesses they'd helped transform. A family farm that had quadrupled production while reducing waste. A textile cooperative that now competed successfully with fast fashion giants. A network of independent bookstores holding their own against online megastores. Technology can be a fortress that protects the privileged, she said, her voice strong and clear. Or it can be a bridge that allows everyone to cross. At Equilibrium, we choose to build bridges. The audience rose in standing ovation as she concluded. In that moment of triumph, Olivia allowed herself a quick glance at Jackson. His expression was unreadable, but he was among those standing, his applause seemingly genuine. The moderator for the Q&A session bounded onto the stage, inviting Jackson to join them. He moved with the same confident grace Olivia remembered. Though up close, she could see new lines around his eyes, a certain weariness beneath his polished exterior. Ms. Reyes, Mr. Frost, the moderator began. You represent two contrasting approaches to AI development. Horizon focuses on breakthrough innovation at scale, while Equilibrium prioritizes accessibility and ethical application. Can these approaches coexist, or is one inevitably the future? Jackson leaned toward his microphone first. Innovation and ethics aren't mutually exclusive, he said, his voice as commanding as Olivia remembered. But breakthrough technologies require resources and scale. The question isn't whether our approaches can coexist, it's whether they should. He turned slightly toward Olivia. Ms. Reyes has created something admirable with Equilibrium, but I would argue that true democratization of technology requires the infrastructure only companies like Horizon can build. The challenge in his words was clear, delivered with the smooth confidence that had once intimidated her. But Olivia wasn't the same person he'd dismissed 2 years ago. With respect, Mr. Frost, she replied, infrastructure without intention becomes a cage, not a foundation. Horizon builds impressive systems, but who controls them? Who benefits most from them? The true measure of innovation isn't its technical brilliance, but its impact on human dignity. The audience murmured appreciatively at the exchange. For the next 30 minutes, they parried questions about data ethics, algorithmic bias, and the responsibilities of tech companies toward society. Despite their fundamental disagreements, Olivia found herself enjoying the intellectual challenge of matching wits with Jackson. As the session concluded, the moderator posed a final question. If you could collaborate on one project, what would it be? A hush fell over the audience. Olivia considered deflecting with humor, but something in Jackson's expression, a flicker of what might have been regret, made her answer honestly. I'd want to build something that combines horizons. Technical power with Equilibrium's ethical framework, she said. Technology that's both brilliant and beneficial, no compromises on either front. Jackson studied her for a moment before responding. I would be interested in exploring that possibility, he said simply, surprising everyone, Olivia most of all. As they left the stage to continued applause, Jackson leaned close enough that only she could hear. We should talk, Olivia. Properly this time. Rewiring Trust, the rooftop garden of the convention center, offered privacy amid the chaos of the summit's closing day. Olivia arrived first, watching the sunset paint San Diego's skyline in gold and rose. She had debated whether to meet Jackson at all, but curiosity, and perhaps something more complicated, had overridden her caution. He appeared exactly on time, having changed from his presentation suit to more casual attire. Dark jeans and a simple button-down shirt that made him look more like the startup founder he'd once been than the corporate titan he'd become. Thank you for agreeing to meet, he said, keeping a respectful distance as he joined her at the railing. Your keynote was exceptional. Thank you, Olivia replied, studying him with new eyes. The arrogance she remembered seemed tempered now, replaced by something more contemplative. Why did you send the champagne? Jackson's smile was faint. as a peace offering, or perhaps a recognition. I've been following Equilibrium's progress. Studying the competition? At first, he admitted. Then out of genuine admiration. What you've built in 2 years is remarkable, especially considering the circumstances under which you left Horizon. The reference to her firing hung between them. Olivia waited, unwilling to make this easier for him. I owe you an apology, Jackson finally said, looking directly at her. Firing you publicly was inexcusable regardless of what I believed at the time. And what did you believe? Olivia asked, keeping her voice neutral despite the sudden acceleration of her pulse. Jackson's gaze shifted to the horizon. That you had either made a catastrophic error or been negligent in your testing. I was wrong on both counts. He turned back to her. 6 months ago, during a security audit, we discovered evidence that Ethan Mercer had sabotaged the Atlas demonstration. By then, he had already left for a competitor. I've known that for almost 2 years, Olivia said quietly. Surprise flickered across Jackson's face. You knew, and you never came forward? What would have been the point? My reputation was already damaged. Fighting to clear my name would have kept me tied to Horizon to that moment. She gestured toward the skyline. I chose to look forward instead. Jackson was silent for a long moment. That choice created Equilibrium. It did. Which brings me to why I wanted to speak with you privately. Jackson straightened, shifting into the business mode Olivia recognized. Horizon is launching a foundation focused on ethical AI implementation, a separate entity from our corporate structure with independent governance. I want you to lead it. Olivia blinked in surprise. You're offering me a job? I'm offering you a platform, he corrected. Complete autonomy, significant funding, and the chance to implement your vision at a scale Equilibrium might take decades to achieve. The proposal was unexpected and, Olivia had to admit, tempting in its scope. The impact she could have with those resources was exponentially greater than what Equilibrium could currently achieve. What about my company, my team? The foundation would acquire Equilibrium, but your team would remain intact under your leadership. They'd become the core of the foundation's work. Olivia leaned against the railing, processing the implications. Why me? You have access to any number of ethical AI specialists. Because you proved me wrong, Jackson said simply. Not just about your capabilities, but about my approach to innovation. Equilibrium has demonstrated that ethical constraints don't inhibit breakthrough technology. They inspire it. The admission clearly didn't come easily to him. Olivia studied his expression, searching for hidden motives but finding only genuine respect, and perhaps regret for what might have been. I need time to consider this, she said finally. And to discuss it with my partners, Jackson nodded. Of course, he handed her a slim folder. The complete proposal is here, including governance structure and funding commitments. Take whatever time you need. As he turned to leave, Olivia asked the question that had been lingering since she received his note. Jackson, was any of this worth it? The relentless drive, the sacrifices, the people left behind along the way? He paused, considering her question with unexpected seriousness. I built what I thought success should look like, he said finally. You built what you believed in. I'm not sure which approach was right, but I know which one led to greater fulfillment. His smile held a trace of sadness. Perhaps that's why I need you more than you need me. 3 weeks later, Olivia sat with Darius and Priya in Equilibrium's conference room. The Horizon Foundation proposal spread across the table between them. They had spent days analyzing the offer, identifying potential pitfalls, and negotiating improvements. If we accept, Darius said, we need absolute guarantees about our independence. The moment Horizon tries to influence our direction is the moment the Foundation loses credibility. Priya nodded. And our team needs to be protected. Everyone keeps their positions with enhanced benefits. Jackson has agreed to all of it, Olivia confirmed, still somewhat surprised by his willingness to accommodate their demands. The Foundation will have a separate board, public reporting requirements, and complete technological autonomy. The question remains, Priya said gently. Can you work with him again? After everything that happened, it was the heart of the matter, beyond business considerations or ethical frameworks. Could she rebuild professional trust with the man who had once shattered her confidence so completely? The man whose approval she had once desperately sought, whose vision had inspired her even as his methods troubled her. "I'm not working for him," Olivia said after a thoughtful pause. "We'd be partners in this endeavor, each bringing different strengths. The foundation needs both perspectives to succeed." "And personally?" Darius asked, perceptive as always. Olivia smiled. "Personally, I've learned that building something meaningful is the best response to being underestimated. Jackson Frost fired me in front of everyone, thinking he was ending my career. Instead, he inadvertently launched it in a new direction, one that ultimately brought me more fulfillment than I'd have found at Horizon." She picked up a pen, tapping it thoughtfully against the proposal. There's a certain poetry in using his resources to scale the vision he once dismissed. The following month, at the Foundation's launch event, Olivia and Jackson stood side by side before cameras and industry leaders. Their joint vision, combining Horizon's technical capabilities with Equilibrium's ethical framework, was already being hailed as a potential turning point for the industry. As they finished their presentation and the audience applauded, Jackson leaned toward her. "Are we rewiring trust?" he asked quietly, echoing a phrase from their shared announcement. Olivia considered the journey that had brought them to this point, from public humiliation to wary partnership, from broken trust to cautious rebuilding. "We're rewiring something," she replied with a small smile. "Trust is earned over time, not announced in press releases." "Fair enough," he acknowledged. "I look forward to earning it." As they left the stage together, neither pioneer nor follower but equals on a new path, Olivia realized that sometimes success isn't about rising alone, but about changing the definition of achievement itself. Jackson had taught her the cost of relentless ambition. She was teaching him the value of ethical vision. Together, perhaps they could create something neither could build alone. The woman who had once walked away in humiliation now returned on her own terms, not seeking validation but offering transformation. In the end, that was the most powerful comeback of all.